Today I have a story for you all. A story about 6 students, 1 abandoned asylum, and a lab experiment gone horribly wrong. Welcome to the tale of the University 6. Hello Internet, welcome to Spirit Theory, the show where I steal and parody another web show's old intro because their new one is too complicated. Now you may be wondering, what the hell is this video? This is Spirit Halloween we're talking about, the seasonal pop-up store haunting the abandoned circuit cities of our childhood since 1983. And to that I say, well, yes, but I swear there's something worth talking about here. Every year, Spirit runs a new marketing campaign for their line of animatronic decor and ISEs, also known as in-store experiences, in order to hype up their fans and introduce what they've created for the upcoming season. And in the past it's been a cool video, or a countdown, or something relatively benign. But this year Spirit has gone and created an entire story, using multiple types of media to serve as informational checkpoints to help us connect the dots. And who am I to not make a completely over-the-top video about this story? Come on guys, it's kind of my brand. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna explain this whole marketing campaign as well as my theories in 2 videos. The first one, which you're watching right now, is going to explain the campaign up until this point of writing this script, so Sunday, July 17th. And the second video will explain and theorize on the second half of the campaign, everything after Sunday, July 17th. Alright, are we ready? Good. Let's start from the very beginning. Wait, before we actually begin, I just need to say there's obviously plenty of spoilers in this video. Also, this video kind of relies on you having seen the animatronic and ISE leaks pertaining to the 2022 season. If you haven't and you don't want to, I'd click off this video. If you do want to see them, there's plenty of videos about them online. Alright, back to the video. So the first thing Spirit released for this season that will help us lore-wise is actually the Halfway to Halloween teaser back on April 29th, 2022. The teaser primarily showed a chalkboard with a ton of writing all over it, as well as a hand holding a knife and a bloodied burlap sack. We now know due to the leaks that I mentioned earlier that the bag and hand with knife belonged to Betty Sharp, an animatronic being released for the 2022 season. Also, we see some composition notebooks on the floor with a drawing of what seems to be the hand or nozzle of Nozzles the Clown, another animatronic being released for the 2022 Halloween season. Now back to the chalkboard. There's obviously a lot here, and most of it is just nonsense stuff, but what we can take from this is all the scientific writing scattered throughout. We've got a flask here, some equations there, hell there's even a Punnett square, but it all seems to be pointing to some sort of experiment type scenario, or at least something in the scientific sense. I do want to draw your attention to a couple things here though. There seems to be a hand that is shrinking to 1/4 its original size, and there's something that says irreversible damage. Now hold on to that, we'll come back to that later. Also, side note, in the TikTok version of this teaser, you can hear this line. Now, after seeing what Betty Sharp looks like via the leaks, I have a theory that Betty Sharp is the sister of the 2020 animatronic, Mommy's favorite, and that Betty killed her sister and stuffed her in a bag, but that's a theory for another day. Now, months went by without a new insight into the campaign, but eventually the next major lore piece came in the form of a web page on the Spirit Halloween website. A page by the name of Experiment 1031. This page, which was first made available via direct messages from the Spirit Halloween Instagram account on July 8th, initially contained a short clip, along with a countdown that terminates on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. Now the video doesn't show much, but what it does show yet again is this chalkboard, along with a woman running and a man with a flashlight. The most notable thing about this clip, I'd say, is probably the date in the top corner, June 5th, 1994. A few days later, on July 13th, 2022, the Experiment 1031 page updated to reveal a brand new clip, this time labeled with the date June 6, 1994. This second clip shows a woman, presumably the one running in the first clip, holding a composition notebook with drawings of, again, Nozzles the Clown, just like that in the Halfway to Halloween teaser. There's a bunch of random cutaway shots in this video, another one of a person running, a close-up of a woman's face, a man walking down some stairs, but what really catches my attention are the 2 glimpses we see of animatronics. That being of Monty the Monkey, who was leaked, and this neck-snapping lady. The reason I call her neck-snapping lady is because of the way you see her neck move in the few frames that she is visible for. Also, it's worth noting some of the audio in these clips, specifically the second one. We hear a female voice say,
"What was that?"
Again, hold on to that, we'll come back for it later. Now, up until this point, there hasn't been too much dot connecting, but that comes into play right now. On July 12th, one day before the second clip appeared on the Experiment 1031 page, a podcast by the name of Stuff They Don't Want You to Know published a new episode entitled Stuff They Don't Want You to Know Presents The Tale of the University 6 Part 1. Now, Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is primarily a conspiracy podcast run by three hosts, Matt Frederick, Ben Bolin, and Noel Brown. And it's a podcast based on fact and theory, not fiction. But this particular episode, which starts out with the host saying that the episode is a mix of fact and fiction, actually connects many of the dots Spirit has already laid out for us. Before I get into this podcast, I'm not going to get too in-depth about it here, but I did write a full summary of Part 1 and will be writing an in-depth summary of Part 2 as well over on the Spirit Halloween Wiki. So go check that out if you'd like. The link is in the description along with the link to the actual podcast. Anyways, the episode, which is run by three fictional podcasters by the names of Bill, Mark, and Neil, starts out with this line.
In partnership with Stuff They Don't Want You to Know presents The Tale of the University 6.
Now, that redacted line is pretty obviously Spirit Halloween, but I think it's still clever that they're censoring it for the time being. We then move on to the three hosts talking back and forth about the horrors of early 20th century treatments for the mentally ill, mostly talk about asylums. This segues right into the podcast's topic, the Homestead State School and Hospital. Now, because this is a podcast, I have no idea how you spell Homestead, because it's a fictional place, so we're just going to spell it like this for now. The story goes like this. Homestead State School and Hospital, also known as the Black Castle, was constructed between 1903 and 1908, just outside the fictional town of Hazard, Pennsylvania. It became the center of controversy after the passing of a very real 1913 Pennsylvania legislature, entitled the Commission for the Care of the Feeble-Minded, a legislature that stated that the feeble-minded, or those dubbed as mentally ill at the time, were, quote, unfit for citizenship, and posed a menace to the peace, aiming to incarcerate all mentally ill individuals in hopes of breaking the endless reproductive chain. Some pretty dark stuff. The controversy surrounding Homestead was that there was malpractice occurring. Now, keep in mind this is malpractice in the early 1900s, so pretty bad stuff, specifically occurring in a section of Homestead known locally as the Laboratory. The whole place was destroyed in a fire in the mid-1900s, and Homestead faded into obscurity. That is, until the 1990s, when 6 students from a local university decided to investigate the ruins. There's not much known about these University 6 other than that they all went missing directly after entering the ruins, but our podcaster friends have received a mysterious package in the mail containing things that may lead to the truth about these 6 students. The package contains some photos that were too blurry to make out, as well as a thumb drive with some video files on it. Now, again, because this is a podcast, we don't see these photos or videos, but rather hear them. Now, I want to play the 2 clips for you now, and then we'll discuss what the podcasters had to say about the videos.
Is this thing on?
Trees look nice. Too bad we have to spend all weekend digging through some old junk.
It's called research, Emily. You know, you have a 4.0 and are pretty much a genius, but don't waste the battery on that thing.
I am documenting our research. Duh. Look at this place. It's Creep City in here.
It's not that bad.
Are we early?
Doesn't sound like us. Let's find the rest of class.
Alright, so the podcasters act as our eyes here as they've obviously seen the video visually, and they state that the male voice heard is likely that of Matt Kavanaugh, and the female voice is that of Emily Waterhouse. Now, who are Emily and Matt? Well, they're 2 of the 6 students who went missing at Homestead, according to the podcasters. Also, take note of the sexes of the people in the clip here. 1 male, 1 female, just like that of both Experiment 1031 clips. Alright, here's the second clip.
Barely see where I'm going.
What was that?
What is it? You okay?
Something grabbed at me.
We've only been here for 5 minutes and you're freaked out already? Is it freezing in here?
What was that?
Now right away you should recognize Emily's call of "what was that" from the second Experiment 1031 video, and I think that is enough proof to show that the Experiment 1031 videos are a compilation of snippets from the clips the podcasters received. Meaning this is Matt Kavanaugh and this is Emily Waterhouse. The podcasters state that the videos are seemingly very low quality and appear to have been reconstructed before they arrived in the hands of Bill, Mark, and Neil. They also say the metadata of the files seems to have been messed with, so these definitely are not the original clips. The podcast ends with Bill, Mark, and Neil saying they'll record more if they receive additional information as they sign off for the day. But the audio continues to roll and we get to hear conversations after the podcast has ended. One of the podcasters says they saw a clown-like figure in one of these photos, an observation that the others agree with. Now, there's 4 clowns being released this year for Spirit, those being Lucky Bottoms, Mr. Punchy, Nozzles of course, and Young Crouchy, who is a smaller version of the 2019 animatronic Crouchy. I think I know exactly which clown they're referring to, but we'll get to that later. The episode ends with a knock on the door and a second anonymous package being dropped off, which sets up episode 2 of the podcast, an episode that at the time of recording has not yet been released. The final piece of lore that I want to talk about before getting to my theory and the full story as I see it is the PR boxes. In 2021, Spirit sent out boxes to select fans containing goodies and some lore pertaining to that Halloween season, and this year is no different. Yet again, select fans received boxes in the mail, this time with a stamp saying J. Reaper Laboratories, J. Reaper being a reference to Jack, Spirit's mascot, of course. Now, there's not much interesting to us lore-wise inside this box, other than these composition notebooks that seem to be hinting back to the ones Emily holds in the video clips, and a vial of pills labeled number 1031, but what is really interesting is the outside of the box. A label holds the box shut that gives us some interesting information, that being the name of a lab technician, Dr. Illumi, who was actually an animatronic released by Spirit in January 2022, and a date, 6666, which may just look like a reference to the devil's number, but let's take it as an actual date, June 6, 1966. Now hopefully you've been paying attention, because with all these dates and hints, I have a story I'm pretty confident in. This is what I believe to be the true tale of the University 6. Homestead State School and Hospital, also known as the Black Castle, was constructed between 1903 and 1908 just outside of Hazard, Pennsylvania. After the passing of the 1913 Commission for the Care of the Feeble-Minded, Homestead opened a secret laboratory in the hospital to experiment on their patients. On June 6, 1966, a technician by the name of Dr. Illumi ran a test on a patient by the name of Crouchy. A test that ended up shrinking Crouchy to 1/4 his original size. Something went wrong with this experiment though, causing Homestead to burn down, taking its patients with it. The ghosts of patients past continued to haunt the grounds of Homestead as time rolled on, until on June 5th, 1994, one day before the anniversary of Dr. Illumi's experiment, 6 university students went to investigate and do research in the old ruins of Homestead. The research started out fine as 2 students by the names of Matt and Emily arrived late to meet up with the other 4 members of their class, but as the clock struck midnight and June 6th began, the patients awakened and terrorized the students. What happened to the 6? We may need to wait until the countdown terminates to figure that one out, but for now, it's all just a theory. A spirit theory. Thanks for watching.